It was maybe 6 or 7 p.m., not too late. I was walking with a friend to a local 24-hour mart when we passed a construction site and heard the all too familiar sounds of men sitting above us. The first time I was flashed, I was 14 years old. I was walking with my mother, my sister, and at the time, my 6-year-old niece. We were walking down Grandview until we encountered an older Vietnamese man who lifted his pant leg and showed us what he wanted us to see. It happened so quickly that I didn't have time to fully comprehend what had just happened. The first time I felt sexually violated, where I felt that my body did not belong to me, was when I was 16 years old. I was at a party, there was loud music, and an overall atmosphere of excitement. I was dancing with my friends, singing my heart out, until I felt a hand grab my rear end. At first, I thought it was an accident, because when I looked back, I was met with unfamiliar eyes and an emotionless expression. I then continued to dance and have fun with my friends. Yet moments later, I felt a hand go under my skirt. This is when I knew it was not an accident. After each instance, I confided in my family and my friends, but I got the same reaction from each and every one of them, which was don't react. Don't react to what these men are doing. And of course, I understood what they meant, which was to fight back and to not give in to these games that these men are creating. Yet the reality of the alternative is silence. When faced with such scenarios, women are almost expected to give in and to yield control of their very own bodies. One lesson too many girls have to learn is to become emotionally unattached to these kinds of interactions, because they happen so often that if we acknowledge just how serious these forms of assault are, we'll break. This all dwindles down to disrespect. In a recent survey conducted in the US in January of this year, it found that 81% of women have experienced some form of sexual harassment. 77% of whom have experienced verbal abuse, 51% unwelcome touching, and 30% unwanted genital flashing. That means that 4 out of 5 women will experience some form of sexual harassment in their lifetime. These statistics may seem jarring, but are they all that surprising? Sexual harassment is everywhere. You see it on the streets, you see it in the workplace, you see it in schools, and you see it in homes. It is everywhere. But where does it all start? The men who exhibit these aggressive behaviors, both towards and against women, in no way view them as their equal. Whether it be in academia or the workforce, women are built as less capable than their male counterparts. This displacement of women being at a disadvantage than men not only affects women, but is detrimental to the gender relationships between men and women. This not only affects the ones who are the victims, but it will prove to be an overall negative effect in society. In order to extinguish a problem that has been ripening for over a millennia, we need to look at the root. Now, with all problems we are faced at in life, there is no one clear-cut answer. There is no one-step solution to a problem that has been ripening for over decades and decades of social interactions. But if we were to approach the problem, one good start would be trying to understand the nature of it. Psychologist Louise Fitzgerald put it quite simply. Sexual harassment arises from traditional expectations and relationships between the genders. Now, what constitutes traditional expectations? Traditional expectations and gender roles vary from culture to culture, but some universal beliefs are that men don't cry. Women are too emotional. Women are too emotional. Men earn the money for the household, while women take care of the children they are expected to raise. These traditional expectations not only create gender stereotypes, but also prevent men and women from achieving their full potential. However, the biggest culprit in this whole issue is the underlying existence of toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is the narrow set of cultural narratives on what it means to be a man. For example, men don't cry. That is one example that has been thought of over decades and decades, where men are not allowed to show their emotions. By teaching men that they are emotionless and need to be strong and in control, we not only prove detrimental to their well-being, but also to the ones around them. This societal set of rules not only pushes men to an emotional disadvantage, but also has them miss out on aspects of life that should be available to all types of people, no matter what gender. A recent study done by California Polytechnic University and a meta-analysis found that men who believed in or practiced ideas associated with toxic masculinity increased the likelihood of sexual harassment and domestic violence to occur, as well as show declining mental health conditions that are unlikely to be addressed clinically. As you can see, although affecting women, toxic masculinity also affects men the most. The idea that the toxicity of a male state of mind and the need to be in control has been indoctrinated within them from a very young age. I am not a man, nor can I speak on behalf of men. But I am subject to the byproducts of what toxic masculinity produces in men. Somewhere in our education and expectations of gender roles, oppressive norms are being imposed onto young boys and are being carried out throughout their lifetime. Not all disrespect leads to harassment, but all harassment starts with disrespect. This is why we need to go to the root and extinguish it from the bottom up. We need to stop it at the start. The modern idea of masculinity rejects any kind of idea of femininity, and in turn, that creates a foundation that will prove to have poisonous behavior develop. As parents, there is a responsibility to acknowledge the world which surrounds our children and how they react to it. For example, boys do cry, and they laugh, and they yell, and they get scared, and they feel every other emotion on the spectrum that any one of us would feel. Feelings have no gender, and when we assign them to, it proves to negatively affect everyone. Once we teach boys that it's okay to feel and that no emotions are wrong, it will lead to better improvement in their life and better engagement by regulating their own emotions as well as interacting with others. This will not only lead to healthy improvement in their life, but also from family to career to spirituality. Another idea we need to extinguish is the boys will be boys idea. What we really mean when we say boys will be boys is that we're excusing behavior that should be held accountable for. This not only creates gender stereotypes, but it also excuses behavior that should be unacceptable. In order to improve the relationship between men and women, we need to redefine the traditional narrative of what it means to be a man. We need to start teaching young boys that it's okay to feel, it's okay to express, and it's okay to reflect. Once we start teaching the idea of self-love, self-acceptance, and self-care, that's when we'll start seeing positive change for men and women both alike. I was first catcalled at 13 years old. I was last catcalled at 17 years old. Don't make this a narrative another girl has to tell. No matter what gender we possess, no matter what we're taught, no matter how we're raised, we all want the same thing: to be respected, to be loved, and to be treated like human beings. Let's stop at the start. Thank you.